With summer now in full swing and many of us squeezing in some vacations before the fall, I thought it would be a wonderful time to bring up how to handle marathon training when you're on vacation. So before we start, if you are new here, welcome. My name is Juliana and I am a marathoner trying to grow my health food startup, Juju's Foods, while managing a 9-to-5 corporate job. And today's video is actually part of my Chicago Marathon Training Build series, where I am taking you behind the scenes of what it's like training for my 2:55 marathon goal. So if you are interested in following along, please make sure to hit that bell button down below and subscribe to the channel. So back to the topic of today's video, here are my top tips for getting the most out of your marathon training while you are on vacation. Okay, so my first tip is to assess the kind of vacation that you're going on and if you're going to end up having time to run when you're on vacation. So I highly recommend doing this before you go on your trip so that you can be honest with yourself and level set your expectations so that you aren't disappointed if you end up having to miss runs and swap things around a little bit. And I think that this also just really depends on the kind of vacation that you're taking. So for example, if you're by yourself and you're on your own time and you don't really have any commitments or plans, you can kind of do whatever you want. If you want to marathon train when you're on vacation, it is much easier to do so if all you have to do is rely on your own schedule and if it's something that you really want to do when you're away. However, if you are with other people, with a group, with your family, you're eating late, you're starting your days early, you're kind of at the whim of what the group wants to do, it may be very, very difficult to get in all of your runs in the same way that you would at home. So this brings me to my second tip, which is to consider planning a down mileage week when you are on your trip. So what this means is that most plans end up building mileage for 3 to 5 weeks, and then there's some sort of cutback week around that 4th or 5th week. So if you can try to plan your vacation around one of those cutback weeks, I find that that can take a little bit of the pressure off. So let's say, for example, you are building up your mileage for 3 or 4 weeks, and then let's say that 5th week, you're supposed to have a cutback week, but actually your vacation takes place on the 6th week. So instead of doing a cutback week on that 5th week, maybe just keep increasing or keep your mileage the same for that 5th week, and then that 6th week use that as your cutback week. So that just takes a little bit of the pressure off of things, so you're not trying to squeeze in so many miles, and you can kind of have a reduced mileage and effort and intensity week when you're on your trip. Okay, so this next tip is for my peeps that are trying to hardcore marathon train throughout vacation and nothing will stop you. So if this is you, I would at least consider not worrying too much about your overall mileage, but really just focus on trying to get in your key workouts when you are away. So for me, what that means is I usually have a speed workout, a medium long run, and then a long run as my 3 key workouts in general in training. So when I personally am on vacation, if I have to skip one of those workouts or even 2 of those workouts, that is usually okay for me and I'm fine doing that. So if you are short on time or you're kind of not on your own schedule, you're at the whim of your family, of a group, whatever, I would just tell yourself and be okay mentally with the fact that if you have to skip a workout or 2, it's not the end of the world. You will be fine. You will not lose any fitness. Everything will be okay. And then if you do have time to get in speed workouts or you want to get in a speed workout, I would suggest focusing on maybe a VO2 or faster speed session or interval session instead of long threshold work, because when you're in an unfamiliar environment, if you're trying to go at a very fast pace for a long stretch that you're unfamiliar with, it might be difficult. If you're going somewhere that you've been a million times and you're very familiar with the location, then I think it's fine. When I was just in Italy in Lake Garda, I was trying to do a 3x2 mile workout at lactate threshold, and it was along this lake route in Salò in Italy, and it was like all these little twists and turns. So it was a lot slower than I had anticipated, especially because I wasn't familiar with all those little curvy twists, and it was hard to run on the roads because they were very narrow and it was super dangerous. So I would have probably been better off if I had done shorter VO2 max stuff 400s, 800s, that kind of stuff instead. And then for your medium long runs and your long runs, I would suggest, if you'd like, to map it out on Strava, Garmin, whatever app you use if you're going somewhere that's unfamiliar. I think this is helpful just to kind of see the heat map of where people are running and what's a good area to run in. And you can also just kind of pinpoint where your water stops are, where the bathrooms are, all that good stuff. And especially if you're running in the mountains and you have a watch that is capable of routing and guiding you, that could be helpful so you don't get lost. Okay, so my next tip is for anybody that has strength training as part of a key component of marathon training. So my personal philosophy is that unless I am staying somewhere that has a phenomenal gym and I have the time to strength train, I will not strength train. So I need those two conditions to be met, or else I'm just not going to do it. And this is because I usually have a lot that I want to see when I'm on vacation. I'm also usually vacationing with other people, and they're already all waiting on me for so long to finish my run that I don't have time to both run and strength train. So I choose to just run because I'm in a new place. I have these new routes that are unfamiliar and exciting to me. So I would rather just get out the door and do that. And it's a lot easier and faster. And I will maybe do some sort of core mat work if I feel like it and I have the time throughout my trip. But honestly, a week, 10 days, 2 weeks of not getting in optimal strength training isn't going to hurt your fitness and will not kill you. So don't worry about not getting it in. And that is just my personal philosophy. But if you are very keen on getting in your strength work and you definitely want to do it, you may need to adjust a run, skip a run, something like that in order to fit it in. And just make sure that you're okay with that and that you have your expectations set and that it's all good. Okay, so my next set of tips is really just around mindset when you're on vacation. And I think that this is applicable for whether you're a runner or not, especially as health conscious individuals. We sometimes feel like when we're in an unfamiliar environment or we're not in our normal healthy routines and we're eating out at restaurants for pretty much every single meal, it's very easy to spiral into this mindset of like,
oh my gosh,
I'm not being healthy, I'm falling off the wagon, I'm not taking my training seriously.
So I'm here to tell you, do not go there. I am definitely guilty of going there, and I think that it's something we all do, but I'm here to let you know that 1 week of you going off the wagon isn't going to mess up your training or anything of the sort. And just enjoy your vacation. Enjoy this place that you have probably spent a long time planning and hopefully looking forward to visiting. And so one thing that I will say that you should somewhat try to keep that you do have at home is your schedule. If you tend to get 8 hours of sleep a night at home, really try to get around that same amount when you're on vacation. And I know it may be difficult given the different programs that you have going on and the different activities that you have, but I promise if you try to stick to that, you will be a much happier person. And I know we can't control it, but just try your best, and it's okay if you fall short on your sleep sometimes when you're out. But I promise you will definitely feel a lot better if you make a concerted effort to stick to that sleep-wake schedule. And then another thing that also goes hand in hand with this in terms of scheduling and your sleep schedule is also your meal schedule. If at home you normally have 3 meals a day, don't all of a sudden start skipping breakfast just because you're out and about and you have so much to see and you don't have time for it. You will not be a happy camper if you are not getting in your 3 meals a day. And I learned this the hard way when I was just on vacation in Italy, because my family would have these huge breakfast buffets while I was out running, and then I would get back and I wouldn't have a ton of time to eat, but we'd be out hiking in the mountains or on the lake and doing all this stuff that all of a sudden it would be past the lunchtime and I realized that I hadn't eaten, and I would get this intense physical hunger pain that I was not okay with, because I would then get a migraine and a stomach ache and I just felt awful. So don't do that. Make sure that you are getting in 3 square meals or however many meals that you get a day, and that you don't compromise, or else your body will not be happy. And so one thing to combat this, and a little workaround kind of that I had for this, is that I would make sure to bring snacks from home. So make sure you bring your pre-run fuel, so anything that you like to consume before you're running, things obviously that you would eat during your run, like gels, any electrolyte supplements, that kind of stuff, and then also post-run fuel. I, of course, had Jujus with me, and I actually tragically realized at the airport that I had forgotten to bring Jujus with me, but then my mom thankfully brought a bag of every single flavor, so that was very nice of her, and she essentially gave it all to me to eat on the trip, which I was very happy about, because all of these granolas at the hotels are all loaded with sugar, and anytime that I have it right after I run, I just always feel so sick. So I was very thankful that she brought it. So thank you, Mom, if you're watching. But then besides just pre and post run fuel, make sure that you bring a few snacks that you like to have that are nourishing and help sustain you throughout the day. Okay, so my next tip is around hydration, and just very quickly, make sure to have a water bottle with you at all times. When we are running around on trips and walking around and exploring, it is so easy to just completely forget to drink water. So just having a water bottle physically with you will mentally and physically encourage you to drink water and then replenish as soon as it gets empty. So I would highly recommend doing that. And then if you're used to drinking electrolytes, or you have an electrolyte supplement that you like at home, make sure to bring that with you on your trip so that you can supplement your water with that
extra goodness.
And then in terms of running, I personally traveled with my handheld and my running backpack, so I could just have access to water in an easily portable way. So you could do that, or you could just bring a plastic water bottle with you and make sure to refill it or recycle it or whatever when you're out on your run. But having a form of water that you can carry with you in an unfamiliar environment is key, especially if you're going to be doing longer runs in the heat. So make sure that you have some way to carry your water. If you have any other tips that have made managing training a little bit easier for yourself when you personally go on trips, please make sure to comment down below, because I would love to learn more about it. And if you are curious to see exactly where I ran when I was in Italy, which we went to the Dolomites, Lake Garda, and also Venice, make sure to follow me on Instagram and on Strava. I have the links down in the description below, so you can check out all the different routes that I did and all of the different videos so you can see what that was like. If you like this video, please make sure to like the video and also subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some exciting Jujurunsit and Juju's Foods updates coming soon. Make sure to check out this video for some more running tips, and I'll see you in the next one.